Welcome to the Physicians Portfolio. I'm your host, Felix, and today joining us, we have Aaron, our Senior Financial Planner. In this episode, I want to address the big and probably ugly elephant in the room, right? It's the changes to self-managed super fund that was released on the 23rd of June that you can no longer borrow to buy a residential property from the 10th of August. Now, that's shaken the industry quite a fair bit, but it goes back to me asking the question as to why did we start a self-managed super fund to start with? And Aaron, you work heavily in this space. So my question to you is, why do you start a self-managed super fund?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Felix. Why a self-managed super fund? There's many reasons, obviously not for everybody, but one of the big reasons that we've seen, especially in our practice and the type of clients we work with, is a lot of them want to start their own business or go out on their own, and to do that, sometimes a lot of time you need a premises to operate your business out of. What a lot of people don't realize is you can actually use your super to buy that commercial premises, whether it's retail, an office or some other type of commercial property. The real benefit there is actually you can leverage off your super to also borrow, rather than using your own personal borrowing capacity, which might be tied up in your home, in your investment assets, your other investment properties. And then when your superannuation within a self-managed super fund owns that commercial asset, that your SMSF can then rent that asset, that property to your business. And the real benefit there is you become your own landlord in the business, even though the business itself doesn't own the property. And your business will then pay your super the rent. So you're paying the rent to yourself rather than to some other third party who you don't know.
Yeah.
So everything kind of comes full circle. The business profits are there coming to you, the rent's coming to the super. And that's one of the main big reasons that people do love the SMSF structure.
So that actually doesn't impact what those announcements were, because the announcements were based on residential lending, not commercial.
Exactly.
So it's a great confirmation that you're getting in for the right reasons, as opposed to just doing it because everyone else is buying residential property through the SMS. So I love that. What are some other key areas other than a commercial asset in which someone might want to start a self-managed super fund?
Other than a commercial asset, obviously with, lending for residential out the door from the 10th of August, in a couple of weeks, what else can we look at? So commercial is one area, but people set up self-managed super funds to have more control over their investments. And that doesn't necessarily mean property all the time. That can be investing in unlisted companies that are not on the ASX or other exchanges. That can be investing in investment trusts, those trusts going and then buying property, whether that's residential or commercial, right? So people, really want control over what they do with their super rather than leaving it to either the industry funds sometimes, because you don't really know where your money's going. And people really value having that control. So there's a lot of unique opportunities outside of the property space that we can access through self-managed super fund, given that level of control you have.
Another area that we see in the property space is that a lot of clients may be very heavily asset rich in property outside of super. And so from a lending perspective, that's really quite geared up in terms of their borrowing capacity. Now, you've spoken a lot about this as other alternatives for them to continue to build wealth and not limit themselves.
Yeah, I see a lot of that. So I get a lot of clients that come to me and go, we've got all our borrowing capacity, our personal borrowing capacity tied up in our home or our investment property as it is, our portfolio. What else can we do? What are our options? We want to do something more. So what they don't realize is that their superannuation is sitting there. It's available. Historically, we've been able to tap into that and actually leverage that, get some borrowing to buy a really good quality investment property in their super. There's a lot of tax benefits, really long-term tax benefits that come into play. The only issue now is this restriction on borrowing against residential. So it's really been a topic of focus at the moment.
Yeah. And what are some alternatives? Because not everyone's going to have the opportunity to buy a residential property in the next couple of weeks, right?
Exactly.
So if they had the self-managed super fund set up, they've got everything ready, but they don't want to be in that time pressure of just scurrying out and trying to find any sort of property just to get in there, right? What are the alternatives just so they don't feel like, hey, we've missed a boat, we want to be still investing in a self-managed SIP fund, but in the right way.
Exactly. So the alternatives now, I just think back to my clients who set up self-managed super fund for other purposes. So they can be, for example, investing in unlisted companies. So there's private companies that they want to invest in. They can use the self-managed super fund to do that. Or investing in unlisted investment trusts. For example, there are trusts out there that go and invest in property. You can be a part of that investment trust. It's generally illiquid, but the superannuation is not available anyway. So investors are not concerned about that illiquidity there. And it's a good way for them to access property as well. But the biggest thing, I think, the biggest shift we're going to see is that move from looking at self-managed super funds for residential to commercial. And that's where there's a lot of opportunities still. Even, clients, I've had clients with balances as low as, $250,000, for example, who, whether they're just doing it for investment or their own business, being able to go and buy commercial properties at around the $750,000 mark with some leverage. So that is definitely an opportunity. And then in terms of that unitized investment approach can work really well as well, where you're just buying a part of a property through a trust. So there's a lot of, it's a little bit complex, but there's a lot there.